So we read a wonderful book. We read the first two chapters called A Wicked Deck of Cards by Decker and others. Now, they have a critique of the occult understanding of the cards, and I think they're dead on correct historically. We know, in fact, that playing cards entered Europe in the late 1300s, and the first tarot we have evidence of is in the 1400s, namely with the triumphs, so the trump cards, and here first there were 15. And triomphe becomes trump in English. They were hand painted. Mass produced versions came much, much, much later. Actually, in the very early 20th century, in the 20s, we saw some, and then they weren't really in print for a long time until the 1970s, when they, to some degree in the late 60s as well, when tarot cards start getting created again. Okay, so this occult interpretation, what I like how Decker lays it out and says there's an exoteric and an esoteric understanding of the symbolism of the cards. The exoteric would be that which you completely understand just by looking at it. It's what is at face value. The exoteric value of something would be, for instance, if you watch the movie The Big Lebowski. In fact, you watch The Big Lebowski and you just see a story. You just see a story and you enjoy it. On the other hand, you could see The Big Lebowski. In fact, there's a tarot deck based on it as the journey of the tarot through the trumps. The dude is obviously the fool, and he works his way through these different stages, and he meets people in the courts and whatnot. And you can map it pretty well, the dude's journey until the end. Of course, the dude does not become, at the end of the movie, a fully realized person. Or maybe he does, because he's realized he just wants to be the pure potential that he always was all along. That would be the esoteric meaning. So exoteric meaning, that would be known to anybody who was playing the game. It would have a meaning based on the 15th century, the 1500s, and the Catholic Church. So you have like the Pope, the devil, the chariot, justice, the final call, all sorts of stuff. Now, as soon as there really developed an audience for a more elaborate sort of understanding, an esoteric understanding of the tarot, well, of course, someone thought it up. Now, I would argue that most generally, magic, as soon as it sort of asserts something, will get excitable and it will evolve and expand. Just look at this incredible symbolism of this diagram on the right, which shows the tree of life, the chakras, so the Catholic tree of life. You can see images from the I Ching. And what you're not seeing here is a lot of the numbers that are mapped on these little paths between these different pathways going up the tree of life, is that those are marked by tarot cards by number. Also, you'll notice that there are a bunch of swastikas on the top there. Why? Because before the Nazis, the swastika was an eternal and kind of long, pervasive holy symbol. In fact, the name swastika is a Sanskrit word, and you'll still see swastikas all over the place in India because they have been revered for thousands and thousands of years before the Nazis perverted the symbol. So there was a gentleman in the 19th century named Eliphas Levi. Well, he went by Eliphas Levi, but his name was Alphonse Louis Constant. And what he did was he integrated tarot into his magical doctrine. He was working on a system and establishing a system called ceremonial magic that took equivalencies of magical technologies and symbolisms from wide ranges of world religious systems, put them together, created new rituals, and those new rituals had a specific goal, which was to create knowledge and conversation of your holy guardian angel to transform you into the greatest version of yourself, your own full potentiality. And in time, this developed into an order called the Golden Dawn. And the Golden Dawn used the same system along with varied occult technologies and a system of initiations to steadily teach you more and have you go through these revealed initiations, learning further and further mysteries that would lead you to the full realization of your true potential and your true nature of yourself. So before then, anybody thinking about ceremonial magic, there really weren't a lot. It was Levi. There was nobody that was really thinking about tarot and magic. He put them together. How did he put them together? By mapping them onto the Kabbalah, a system of Jewish mysticism that, just to go very lightly, they understand a lot of symbolism and the very nature of the cosmos to be set up in 10 nodes, let's say 10 points that are found upon the cosmic tree of life. And the transitions between those points are what allows one to evolve and also to understand why one meets with cruelty or severity on one side of one's life and mercy on the other. And the whole of the cosmos and everything one encounters can be mapped onto this tree of life. And once it's mapped there, you can find ways to not only understand them better, but to manipulate them via magic. Okay, so Decker and our pals that wrote this A Wicked Pack of Cards are really dismissive of this occult interpretations. Now, you got to understand that occultists have changed the order and the symbols of the cards over time. I mean, what was 15 becomes 22. They differ and move the orders of the cards around. Aleister Crowley famously did this. So a lot of the cards we see now and the decks we see now do not map perfectly onto older versions of these cards and even the numbers of the cards. So scholars such as the ones we're reading today are interested in critique. Why? Because they're interested in historical truth and the sequence of reception. They're not interested in the evolution of religious lore, or maybe they are. We'll get to that in a second. So they're particularly irritated by the changing of the order of the trump cards to fit into the 22 characters of the Hebrew alphabet. But by that shift and switching around of the cards to 22 and the orders to map onto the Hebrew alphabet, Aleph, Bet, and so forth, this shift connected the cards to the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life. And that made the tarot so interesting because once they had that apparatus, then all of those, 56 lower cards that nobody knew what to do with. I mean, they had an idea of how to interpret this journey of the soul. What are you going to do with all those lower cards? Suddenly, once you put them on the Tree of Life, boom, you can do all sorts of stuff and interpret them in really exciting ways. So one thing I do think that's kind of funny is that